Hi, it's Lee from the Japanese Water Gardens. About 3 or 4 months ago, we finished our new holding tank system. We was building it over the winter. I promised you an update once we've had a chance to get it up and running. Let's take a look at it and see how it's gone on. So for those of you who didn't see the video, we built the system out of 4 500-gallon holding tanks. Each of the holding tanks has got a bottom drain on it, and the pipework for the bottom drain runs underneath the floor and then flows into the DIY filter system. Let's take a look in here, Rowan, and I'll show them how this works. So all of the water from those 4 ponds is flowing in through this single 4-inch pipe. That then enters this chamber, which we refer to as a vortex. The water comes in and it spins around the outside, and then any solids that are in there, they settle on the bottom of the tank. In the center of the tank, we've got this static chamber of K1, and that chamber has got thousands of holes drilled in the side. Move in, don't be shy. On the side of the tank, we've drilled hundreds, if not thousands of holes, so the water can gently percolate in and pass through this static chamber of K1. Inside there, there's a pipe that runs across the center with several pipes intersecting it. Pipes are drilled with lots of holes so the water can gently seep in and pass through the K1. The K1 will sift out all of the fines. Then the water transfers from the side of the tank into the old-fashioned biological chamber. Now in here, when we did this, we just couldn't get enough media to fill it because it's so massive, so we used alpha grog, we used old biomatting and brushes, anything that we could find just to fill that up with biomaterial. This system has been working amazingly well. Let's show them some of the fish. So when we built this, we wasn't exactly sure what kind of fish we was going to keep in here. Right at the beginning of the year, we quarantined 5,000 goldfish in it. That went really well. Now we've started the online selling. We've used this primarily as a holding tank for the fish that are sold prior to the customer accepting delivery or popping into the store to pick them up. Bring it over. Now, one of the things that I incorporated into this tank, but I wasn't really sure how this would work, so it was a little bit experimental. It's these overflow skimmers. Just pop in on that, Rowan, so you can show them that nice. These overflow skimmers are ever so simple to make. They're just made using an 1.5 inch tank connector, a 90-degree bend, and a short upstander pipe. And that is just drawing a little bit of water in off the top of the pond all the time. But what it's done really well is it stopped a lot of that protein forming on top of the pond. On our other ponds, which don't have skimmers, you get that white, frothy, greasy protein sort of swimming around on top of the water all the time. And this has largely eliminated that, so I'm very, very pleased with it. Let's go back over to this thing, and I'm going to go through and show you how we clean it, because it's rather simple, the cleaning method. Very, 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 very similar to the Nexus Easy Pod. So the first thing that we do is we turn off the main supply pump. We don't want that circulating the water while we're maintaining it, so switch that off on the switch there. Then we want to isolate all of that system from the filter, so we close the big valve and we turn the air supply from the ponds and direct it into that center column of K1 there. That's a simple process of opening and closing a couple of valves. And if you move in on that, Ryan, and notice that starts to move. Give it a second. That'll move freely. And look, all the muck is passing out of that chamber now into the outside. And we give it probably about 30 seconds, a minute, to really fluidize and get some of that muck out. Stir it up a bit as well. And then we drain the chamber down. So to do that, open the slide valve at the bottom, and that will start the water gently dropping in this vortex tank. Just look at all the muck that's coming out of that. Now this chamber gets cleaned out probably once a fortnight, and the vortex is getting flushed probably once a week. Once this gets down, Ryan, you'll be able to show them the pipes, what we did to make that pipework matrix. So I'll just expose that for you. So this is a single 4-inch pipe that runs across the whole tank, and that's actually holding this green tank up off the bottom. The green tank is percolated with hundreds if not thousands of holes, and the water passes through the holes, soaks through the K1, and then enters this pipe through these slots. There's lots of surface area for the water to enter the transfer pipe. That's draining away nicely. In this tank, where the biomatting is, it hasn't been necessary really to drain this. This tank probably is going to need to be drained down once or twice a year. Most of the muck is in that tank, so we don't need to touch this. Once the water level in here has got below the level of the inlet, we can open up the bottom drains and we can fire some water in straight out the tanks. That will pull any sediment that's accumulated in that pipework through and dump it into the vortex. Here we go, get on in there. So that pulls the water through nice and fast, and it purges out any sediment that's accumulated in the bottom drains. And just shut that off. Now this tank has got a 3-inch hole in the bottom of it, and a 3-inch valve which is holding the water in here. Once we lift that valve up, it runs straight into the manhole over there. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes for this tank to completely empty, even with the 3-inch pipe. So that shows you, if you're going to build something, do it with a big drain on the bottom, because you do want it to empty quickly. So all of the dirty water and all of the muck now is flowing straight out the bottom of the vortex and straight into the manhole. The dirt that was in the K1, that's also been able to drop out the bottom of the tank through the percolated holes. The way that we did this is we actually suspended the chamber off the pipework. So the only thing that's holding this up off the bottom, and it is off the bottom, it's not sitting on the bottom, is the pipework itself. Because of the way that it's constructed, it's actually elevated off the bottom of the tank. That means all the water and all the muck can get down into that drain nice and cleanly, nice and evenly. It's almost finished emptying now. All of the muck and all the sediment's gone straight out the bottom. Once that has finished emptying, we simply close the slide valve, open up the main inlet valve from the ponds. That's going to restore the water level in the tank. It takes about a minute or so. In this chamber, you'll notice that we've got a ball cock. Because we've done a water change and we dropped the water out of there, the water level has dropped in this chamber, and the ball cock is engaged, and this will top it right back up to exactly the right level for us every time. We also have a water reservoir here, which we can use to pump clean water straight into the tanks at speed. I'm going to turn that on, and that's going to help us get these tanks topped up quick. So this is water that's coming straight out of our water reservoir. It's a 5,000 gallon water reservoir where we store water ready to be popped back into the ponds after a water change. Before this thing can be restored to its normal operating level, we need to be sure that there's sufficient water in here for us to turn the pump back on. Almost forgot, we need to turn off the air supply to the vortex as well. We transfer that back to the pond, close that off. So that just goes back to being a static K1 bed now. Probably takes about 5 minutes for that big pump to fill this thing back up to a level where we can get the pump back on again. I think we'll be good to go. So pop the pump back on it comes. That's water coming from the filter system back into the 4 tanks now. Pop on this one as well, show them that one, Ryan. Some nice fish in there, done well to sell so many so quickly. Water's nice and clear. Because we have such a big problem with leaves, we had to add this extra net as well. So when we've got these things open in the daytime, those trees there, they drop leaves constantly. So this net just helps us to capture those leaves, and they don't just simply drop straight back in. At night time, we have roll across covers. We just unroll them and they just drop down the front. That keeps the fish nice and calm. It protects them from errands or cats or whatever else is around. And it makes sure that all those damn leaves don't end up in these tanks. It's not far off topping up now. Pump's getting the water level back up. I'm going to let it top it right back up for you because I want to show you how this overflow works as well on here. Quite a lot of water in these vortexes, so it'll take a few minutes. The water level's gradually rising up in here. The beauty of this system is that you can top the water back up rapid using the reservoir, and the ballcock will precisely set the level for you and maintain it every time. I'm using the main water reservoir to get the water level right back up to the top. But it's actually more than capable of just operating on the ballcock by itself if that wasn't available. Let me show you the overflow. Now, a lot of people don't bother fitting an overflow onto the filter system, but we've done it here because when it rains, the water would just keep rising up until it literally spilled over the side of the tanks. Now, one of the best ways that I've found of preventing that is to fit an overflow. What you don't want to do is just drill a hole straight through the side of the tank and say, that's my level and I'm stuck with that. So what we've done, if you pop round here, you can see it. On the inside of the tank, we've deliberately drilled too low, and then we've put a 90-degree bend on there with an upstand pipe. and that allows us to set the water level to precisely where we want it to be. If it's too low, we can raise it a little bit. If it's too high, you can drop it down. This is a really easy way of doing an overflow through your pond, and you've got complete control over the water level. It's almost full now. Notice that the bullcock's nearly switched off. So we let that switch off. And then we'll turn off the water reservoir pump. And we're finished. I hope that you found that interesting. I did wait more than a few months because I wanted the system to I wanted to put the system through its paces before I did the update. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up and post some comments below. It's bye for now from Lee at the Japanese Water Gardens.